The thing is, you don't even deserve the real thing. What's up, March Fiends of Chaos? It's your kid Roast Chaos Gaming, and we're going into a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth theory. I've completed the game, so I got a lot more information than anything else. I'm not doing this in between like I did with the remake, and gathering the information. So we're gonna be talking about the Shinra royal family. You know, one of the sons of Shinra is what we're gonna be talking about. So, starting with President Shinra obviously being the main person who created the Shinra company from start to beginning, when it was just a regular manufacturing to what it is today, to also military and government. Old man President Shinra is also one who created the Zero class soldiers. Now this would go to the mobile games, of course. The first soldier, which we're gonna get to who the first soldier is, but right now, you know, you do see a younger President Shinra Senior with a black trench coat in the opening of First Soldier when it was still available for people to play, but it's not. So, don't go and download that app. The first son was an illegitimate son, and also director, a soldier, Lazard Discaris. I can't pronounce his last name, but it starts with the D. That's all it is. But he wants to get revenge on his father because the way his mother was treated. So he colludes with Professor Hollander and Genesis behind closed doors to get back at Shinra. As we know the story, this is the story of the Shinras. Now we're going to be talking about the zero class soldiers. Glenn Lobrock. I think it was Glenn Lobrock that influenced Genesis during the Wutai War. Because here's the thing, the first deserter that we know, now there could have been deserters before Glenn, but we know after Redonia War, then it goes straight to the Wutai War. The first known deserter was Glenn Lobrock, and probably his team with him. And probably one of the team members he had was Viceroy Saruf. We still have not seen what Viceroy Saruf is. But he also has ties to Rufus Shinra. This is why I think Rufus Shinra is a soldier. Because I think at one point before he became vice president, before anything else, Rufus Shinra, under his brother, the director soldier, Lazard, was actually a first class soldier. Because the only Shinra we see fighting is Rufus. And he does fight on par with Cloud. Even though Rufus Shinra doesn't carry the Genova cells like Angeal, Genesis, Sephiroth, Zack, and Cloud. There's no, Genova cells inside Rufus, but Rufus could keep up with Cloud. And, this is Cloud after Crisis Core. And both continuities as well. And like I said, we see him fight. But Lazard, the only time you see Lazard fight is when he gets Angel copy's body. Like he gets put into another Angel copy. His consciousness does. But still, I don't really count that because, again, that comes from Angel. Even though, yes, Angel at that point is long gone, still, he could still have some copies even after death, because Angel was a much better experiment. I mean, Genesis was able to, but Genesis didn't really die. But the thing is, I think Glenn Lobrock was the one who influenced Genesis to become the deserter, because now the second deserter is the one who started the entire war in Crisis Core. In fact, the Crisis Core plot was really Zack versus Genesis. Yes, the Nibelheim incident was attached to it. But remember, in this new remake, it's actually confirmed that Genesis with Zack was there when Sephiroth was having his panic attack and his crisis state, tried to figure out what he really is. So yes, all besides the mobile games, the compilation is extremely connected to the Final Fantasy VII remake verse. I call it the remake verse because it is the remake verse. Because these games now go inside it perfectly. Now, let's just say, like, when you go around playing Dirge of Cerberus, you know, Dirge of Cerberus will start to make more sense now because we saw Weiss and Nero in episode Yuffie. But this is a Rufus Shinra video. And I think before he became vice president, he was. In fact, I don't know how Final Fantasy or any fictional world handles military, but I think you would still had to have military services in order to become, a politician. And Rufus Shinra, not just only because he's the son of Shinra Senior, but he was also a first class soldier. It could even be possible that Rufus was actually a zero class soldier because the fact that Glenn Lobrock knows about him. Now we all know, and this is spoiler alert. I'm going to put spoiler right at the end of the title, but we know that Glenn was actually Sephiroth. And Sephiroth did work with Glenn. Remember, Sephiroth was a team captain in the Radonian War with Glenn. But the fact that Glenn says stuff that directs to Shinra, maybe that was the Genova ability. Because remember, we all thought Glenn was dead. And Rufus was the one who killed Glenn. But the thing is, I think Glenn and Rufus were actually war buddies. They were actually war buddies. In fact, it's possible that Rufus Shinra is actually a zero class soldier. And that explains his fighting prowess to be able to fight against a Genova Cell Project soldier. Rufus Shinra is actually a zero class soldier. And I know I'm going to have some people saying, okay, bud, what are you smoking? But here's the thing. Everything that Glenn said, and this is why this theory is even a thing, because everything Glenn has said to President Shinra always touched the nerve to President Shinra. And that had to be, and since we already know Sephiroth disguised himself as Glenn because Glenn's dead, it had to be the Genova ability. Genova could turn to anybody. And if Sephiroth has control of Genova, he could actually get her to become anything and anybody with their perfect memories without even. It's even possible that, because here's the thing: if Glenn is dead, he would have to pass into the life stream, right? What if, Sephiroth took control of Genova, and then and then the hood that was the body. Remember, the Black Hoods can turn into Sephiroth, Genova, or whoever Genova turns into. So, it's possible that the already dead Glenn, because he said some stuff that touched President Shinra, Rufus Shinra. And the fact that he even talks about the plans him and his father had, which makes sense, because if Glenn was actually a zero-class soldier, this could possibly be even before, a little bit before, the experiments probably happened before even Project S. Well, Project S would still be relevant because by the time Glenn Lobrock was 20 or a younger man and he was a zero-class soldier, Sephiroth would have at least made the ranks of soldier probably at 10 or 11 years old. And we see him 14 years old in the mobile game, carrying a picture of Lucretia, saying that her name was Genova, which, again, angers me to all hell. But this is where also this character comes in, Vincent Valentine. Now, Vincent Valentine will probably have left the Turks, of course, in this continuity. You'd still be sleeping in this coffin until people break in. But who's to say that, even way back when, that he was still somewhat a Turk, but even after Lucretia and after the experiments. So he and if Project Zero did happen before the Project S's, then Vincent would have to be a Turk. Maybe before he becomes a bodyguard for the Genova Project. You know, he also was also a bodyguard to ensure Project Zero took place. So he probably saw Rufus Shinra fighting. Matter of fact, it could be possible, because Vincent's a Turk, that Vincent and Rufus were actually rivals. For the fact that they're not normal gunslingers. Obviously, Vincent has chaos and other mutations that make him not normal. But even before chaos, Vincent was. You've seen how the Turks fight. I mean, just facing Sung and Elena as Aerith and Yuffie, the Turks don't play. And they remember, Reno and Rude were able to fight against Cloud pretty evenly. And also the leader of the Turks and the boss of the Turks is Rufus Shinra. So it actually comes around if you think about it. And if Project Zero was before Project S and the Genova projects and all those other projects, then it's highly possible that Vincent was probably the Turk that accompanied Rufus. So the three friends were Rufus, Glenn, and himself. And that's why I think that Rufus Shinra was a soldier. Rufus Shinra was a Zero class soldier. Now this is a theory, so believe whatever you want to believe. And let me know in the comments if it's a bad or good theory. May the crystal be with you.